Hello everyone, and welcome to the Roguelike Monthly Marathon. I've decided to try and set myself a challenge where I'm going to see how many roguelikes I can beat in 1 month, where each day you only get one qualifying run to add to the trophy cabinet. So that is to say, we have to beat as many roguelikes as possible in 30 days. The first run each day is the only run that can qualify for a win, but you can practice as much as otherwise desired. Existing save files are allowed. You play as the main or default character where applicable. You have to just defeat the main boss to win. No secret endings, no ultra hard modes or anything. And legacy elements such as banks and unlocks are allowed. So we are starting with an empty trophy cabinet. Here you can see the kind of pseudo grayed out versions of 15 of the roguelikes that I own. And we're going to start today with Slay the Spire just because it's plays on my own pace. I can talk as much as I want or as little without being pressured by the game's frenetic paces with games like Bullets Per Minute or Nuclear Throne and so forth. But our trophy cabinet is empty. We're starting with Slay the Spire and let's just jump straight into it. So we're going to play Standard. We're going to play as the Ironclad. Really, there isn't a main character in Slay the Spire, but the Ironclad gets Burning Blood at the end of combat, heal 6 HP, which is incredibly useful. Ascension here is the game's gradually progressive difficulty system. We're not going to be playing with that on, we're just going to be playing the standard base difficulty, and away we go. This is the Whale. The Whale will grant you a bonus if in your previous run you got to at least the first boss. You can see up here, this is the map of the dungeon. There are 3 floors. Each floor has a boss at the end. We can see the boss at the end here is the Grand Blob or Blobulord. I forget the name, but that's what we'll call them. And there are several kinds of checkpoints along the way. Question marks are unknowns. These can be any kind of encounters. Merchants are shops. Treasure rooms, they come in bands here. They are treasure. Rests are campsite where you can either rest to gain HP or spend time crafting one of your cards into a better version of itself. These are standard enemies, and the ones with horns are elite enemies. We can dictate the path we take, but we must follow along the dotted lines after making our initial decision. But before we make that decision, we have to choose one of these 4 bonuses. So we can remove a card from our deck. This is good because when we add better cards to our deck, we're more likely to find them faster. We can choose that the enemies in our next 3 combats will have 1 HP. This makes the first 3 encounters basically automatic wins. After each encounter, you get some gold, maybe a potion, as well as a small booster pack with another card to add to your deck. So that's very valuable because that's kind of like 3 free cards. We can lose 8 of our max HP to transform 2 of our cards into 2 other cards of same rarity. Or we can lose our starting relic and obtain a random boss relic. Now, as I just said, Burning Blood heals us at the end of combat for 6 HP, which is just too valuable. I'm not really that intent on removing anything yet. If we go back to the map, we can try and look to see what routes might be of extra value to us, only having to defeat 1 HP's worth of enemy each fight. So, for example, if we start here, we go fight, question mark, fight, shop, question mark, fire, question mark, fire, chest, question mark, elite. So we could fight this elite with just 1 HP, provided that none of the question marks we encounter contain fights. But that seems like a fun way to go, so let's do that. We'll start here. Every combat, you will always see the enemy intents, so you can see what they're doing. That lets you strategically play the cards from your hand. But right now, we can attack here and attack there, and this combat will be over instantly. We get 20 gold, and we get to pick one of these cards. I'm not going to read out every single one. I'm just going to tell you that we're going to take Thunderclap. This will do 4 damage to all enemies and add 1 vulnerable. Vulnerable makes that creature take 50% more damage from subsequent attacks. We'll go to this question mark. We come upon a dapper-looking cheeky gremlin. It's time to spin the wheel. Are you ready? I'm not, no. Let's see what we get. It's like Baldur's Gate 3 dice rolls, but worse. I think we get to remove a card for free. Yes, we get to remove a card for free. So these are our basic strikes and basic defense. Since we added an attack card, I think we're going to get rid of a basic attack card. Now, this combat is also going to have 1 HP. Again, we get some gold. We get an explosive potion that will deal 10 damage to all enemies. And we get to pick one more attack. I'm going to pick Clash. It costs 0, but can only be played if every other card in our hand is also an attack. You'll see if I show up our deck, we have attacks and skills at the moment. There are also powers, which are permanent buffs for that fight, and curses as well. Going into the shop, we see the friendly shopkeeper. We have 131 gold to spend. We can buy cards, relics, and we can remove potions down here, sorry, and we can remove a card if we wish. Is there anything that looks really good? Not particularly. And as such, I'm going to remove a card and I'm going to remove one of our defends. It's going to make it easier to play the Clash we just picked up, and it means that we have fewer of the basic cards. Carrying on our journey of not taking the fights that we don't have to. And this creature has ruined our streak trying to get to the elite, but that's fine. This is a power potion. It will give us one of 3 random powers that are free to play. And we get to pick one of these cards. I'm going to select Pommel Strike because it gives us some draw. We don't currently have any strength giving cards, and the cost of this is too high for its value, I think. Here at the campsite, we could rest. This would give us HP, but we're at full HP, or we can smith. I'm going to ignore recall. That's for a secret ending that we're not going to go after. So, smithing. What do we want to improve? I think at this time, I'm going to... Pommel Strike is good. It lets us draw 2 cards, and if we can draw back into Clash, we might be able to play it twice in one turn. We could also try Bash. This goes up to 10 damage and 3 vulnerable, so it means that that vulnerable will stay on an enemy for 3 subsequent turns. But I think Pommel Strike will do nicely. If we can possibly help it, we will try and take more cards down the line that have no cost, so we have a higher chance of playing them over and over. Here we are going to thunderclap both of these creatures and then bash the stronger one. So these creatures when killed will make us be vulnerable, so we will take 50% more damage. However, we can defend and defend. This will do 14. So we'll attack here first, attack here second, and then hope we draw back round to that Clash, because we're about to shuffle our deck because we have 1 card to draw. This is going to allow us to draw 2 cards, and so there's a chance we draw back the free card that we just played. But it was a low chance. And still, even here, we've just lost 3 health after our defense, but we will heal that back with our 6th generation. Immolate is excellent. It deals 21 damage to all enemies. It adds a burn, which is one of these curse/status symbols, but it's too good. We have all of our health, and there's nothing we really want to upgrade, so we're going to fight an elite. Elites are slightly more difficult enemies, but they provide you with a relic after you defeat them. So we will give the vulnerable here. We will play Clash first, because our hand currently consists of all attacks. Then Pommel Strike, and those are our attacks remain. And here, 41 damage. That will deal 6. That will deal 31. So we're not quite at a complete death yet. But what I might just do here, he has 10 HP left. We're just going to play this explosive potion and save ourselves taking that extra HP, because the explosive potion is of less value to us because we have Immolate, which does a lot of damage to all enemies anyway. None of these are things that I want. I want to keep the deck fairly thin so we can play our good cards more frequently. And we also picked up Happy Flower, which will give us an energy every 3 turns. That will carry over across fights if the fight only lasts 1 turn. Here we have the Juzu Bracelet. Any question mark rooms that we encounter will not be fights. That's nice to help us control our destiny a bit. And we're going to take these 2 question marks to go and attack this elite to the right. Here we can remove something, transform something, or upgrade something. I think we're going to remove a defend. We're going really hard on attacking fast, and we currently have plenty of strong attacks, and the clash will be ruined if we have too many defensive cards in our hand. So we can bash here first, because that will deal vulnerable. Then we can clash for free, then pommel strike, and that'll end our turn. We will play the defend, bash, clash, strike. Not quite enough damage to kill him, but I'm not really afraid of dying right now. The courier means all merchant prices are 20% reduced. That's excellent, especially so early. And I will take a double tap. This will play our next attack twice. So if we're playing something like bash, it will apply vulnerable twice. If we're playing immolate, it will do 42 damage. Clash will do 28 damage. Pommel strike will let us draw 4 cards. All excellent synergies to have. Immolate here instantly wins the fight. None of these things are things that I'm terribly interested in. This is a spike slime, a version of, what we will find in just a moment fighting the big slime. So, clash for thunderclap first because it applies vulnerable, then clash while we still have only attacks in our hand, then immolate and a death. Distilled Chaos will play the top 3 cards of our draw pile, but of course there's no way for us to currently know what those cards are, and I do not wish for any of these. We have enough health to survive this coming fight, so we're going to upgrade something. Double tap would let us play 2 attacks. If this went up to 2 vulnerable, I would do that, but I think we're just going to make Immolate do 28 instead. It's so good for those AoE fights with lots of small creatures. Here, I think we are just going to double tap Immolate. It's going to add some burns to our hand, but this creature will split into 2 when it gets to half of its hit points. That's 70. But if it's lower than that, the 2 subsequent creatures will have whatever the lower number is. So if we double tap Immolate, it will do 56 damage, which is fairly close to the 70 that we want to do. And so now in our next turn, we can either get him to as close as 70 as possible, or go straight over that mark. And I think we're just going to burn straight through that mark by going bash, defend, clash. So he's at 55. So the 2 subsequent creatures will now have 55. And when they get to half again, they will also split in half. So that's 23. So by doing Immolate here, they will both now split. So we want to damage them as much as possible. So the resulted split creature has less health. We don't need to defend, so we can get this slime out of our hand. And we do not have Immolate again, unfortunately, but we do have Thunderclap, which will attack all these creatures. And I think we will just bash one of the stronger creatures. Yes, we can't kill either of these creatures, so we'll do that. We can't play the clash because we have the burn in our hand, unfortunately. And this is an awful turn. So we're being attacked on 2 fronts. This will kill this creature. And we will just attack this guy twice. Oh, they're all at 17 now. It's not going to make much of a difference. As soon as we get Immolate back, the fight is over. We will double tap Thunderclap. If we get rid of this slimed, we can play Clash. And then we can strike one of these guys. It's getting closer than I would like to admit, but we will heal to full health when we go to the next floor. So we can just bash, strike, and we've done it. It's a little close, I will concede. 104 gold and a golden booster. We have double tap again, barricade, and brutality. None of which really fill me with joy. And I'd rather not add a card to my deck than add a bad card to my deck. So we will skip that. This chest is going to have a relic in for us. Cursed key, gain energy, but we add a curse to our deck whenever we open a non-boss chest. Fusion hammer, gain energy, but we can no longer smith at rest sites. And Sozu, you gain energy, but we can no longer obtain potions. Well, we have 2 reasonably good potions, so we don't need to worry about getting more, so we will take that. And that's the first act done. We just have to do that twice more for victory, and we can think about putting our first trophy in. So, where do we go from here? We have a couple of shop options. Elite. We're going to avoid this Mega Elite. Again, that's the secret ending that we're not concerning ourselves with. So, I think this path here, these 4 question marks, we have Sozu, which is going to make them be non-combat encounters if we need them to be, if something goes terribly wrong along the way. Or we can branch off and get a second elite after fighting this guy. So we'll start over here. We'll go speedrun strats and just try and hit a lot of the question marks. We now have 4 energies thanks to Sozu. So hopefully we can make that work well to our advantage. So these guys are going to try and take our money when they attack us, but if we can successfully win this fight before they run away, we will keep our money. There you see our stolen back money. And none of these things are the thing I want, so we'll stick with our 12 card deck for now. We can heal for 26 or choose one of 20 cards to add to our deck. Well, we're only down 14 HP, so let's choose a card. Pick a card, any card. I know there's a lot going on here, but I think I'm going to take Battle Trance. Just lets us draw 3 cards. Might not have been the best choice, but I'm trying to do this reasonably quickly. So we can remove a single card from our deck, or we can upgrade all of our strikes and defends. Well, we have 6 strikes and defends in our deck, and our targets for upgrading are not that critical. So I'll go for the upgrade all strikes and defends. Thank you ever so much. We will hit up the shop. We've got heaps of money right now, and everything is discounted. So we can remove something from our deck if we so wish. Play a power, attack, and a skill is unlikely to happen. Future skills are always upgraded, but what I really want is Bottled Flame. Choose an attack card in our deck. We will start with that card every combat. None of these cards are anything that I want to add, so we will take this and take Immolate. So every fight we will start with a full 28 damage against all creatures. We cannot take potions because we took Sozu. We will remove a card. I'm going to get rid of, even though it's upgraded now, one of our strikes. And we will carry on. So this creature is going to add defense to itself at the end of its turn. And it also has these things called artifacts. So if we were to put a debuff like Vulnerable onto it, it would take away one of the artifacts before the debuff was actually played. So we can do 28 damage. I'm going to start with a Pommel Strike. Then if we play Battle Trance, we're definitely going to draw some of this stuff, but less important than playing Clash, I want to play Double Tap. None of this stuff is stuff that we want. We will take the Fireplace so that we can smith one of our cards. I think we're going to do Double Tap so that the next 2 cards that we play are doubled. And we will fight another Elite. Here is a Double Tap, make everything vulnerable, play Immolate twice. More bank, we gain 12 extra gold each step we take, but it stops working after we spend money. We can't take the blood potion because of Sozu, and none of this is stuff that I want. We will go Fireplace, upgrade. What's going to be best? I guess Thunderclap, because that attacks everything. We get some gold and a strawberry, which will raise our max HP by 7 and heal us for said 7 HP. Further smithing, we will upgrade Bash. That's going to apply 3 vulnerable to a creature. And we could go for the fights, or we could just take the easy option. Let's take the fights. We can always heal before the final boss if we have to. Our deck is mostly entirely upgraded now anyway. We have 5 energy to spend, so it's 2, 4, and 5. This works out excellently. We are going to get hit, but not so much that I'm worried about it. And that will kill him. And as I say frequently, this is not really stuff that we want. Stuff like deals 2 damage 4 times and 3 damage 3 times is really good when you're dealing a lot of high base damage by increasing your strength, which increases the standard damage for all of your attacks. What do we want to do here? I think Bash, Immolate. Now this is going to be where I regret not having more defensive stuff. $36 damage. This does 13, and we can do 13 3 times. It's a real math game, this. So, shovel. At rest sites, we can now dig for artifacts, which is excellent. None of this is stuff that I want. Question marks we know will be encounters because of Juzu. Get Jaxed. Adds the card, lose 3 HP, gain 2 strength, transform 2 of our cards, or the first attack each turn has 3 extra strength. The first turn. Start each with 3 strength, then lose it at the end of that turn. Let's go with that. We'll take the question mark. It's a bonus shop. If we were to spend money now, we would lose the benefit of more bank. However, they are offering us a 50% discount on all products, and we already have a 20% reduction, so that's going to make stuff very cheap in the future. So we will do that. And I'd forgotten that the courier restocks everything after we buy it, and everything's really cheap, so let's get spending. You can still only remove once though. But the lantern, start each combat with an additional energy. Because we're playing our expensive cards in our early turns, that's going to be really valuable to us. Start the third turn with 18 block. For every 5 cards when you rest, gain 3 HP. Or the next 2 curses we get are negated. I'm inclined to take this because our deck is very small, so every curse that we get is going to highly impact us. We can no longer afford these things, but we can still afford to remove something from our deck. That'll be a basic strike. And we will carry on. So we could rest here. I don't think we need to. But that said, we only have like 2 basic defend cards in our deck, so that could be a problem. Although they have been upgraded. So we're going to do the baller thing and dig for treasure. Potion belt. That is useless because we cannot pick up potions. Punished for my hubris. So we will play Battle Trance. Then Thunderclap. Clash. We will look for double tap. No, we can't draw anymore. Ignore me. We will pile on the vulnerable and attack. We'll save Immolate for a future turn. I'm also going to play this power potion at this point. So one of these 3 things we can play right now. These are all terrible. We don't exhaust cards ever. We don't gain block ever. And we don't lose HP from cards. Apart from the burns we're going to add to our deck from Immolate. So we'll take that. We can double tap, pommel strike for our first attack, and then it's just going to be, let's keep piling on the vulnerable so it's around for plenty more turns. I'm actually going to block here. He's doing 18 damage and 12 defense is not to be sniffed at. Gonna hold off on immolating again quite so soon. Alright, double tap, battle trance, play the defend. That lets us play clash twice and immolate twice. 114 health is a good place for him to be. Now, this turn, he's going to buff his strength and get rid of our debuffs that we've applied so far. So if we could beat him this turn, that would be incredible, but I don't know that we're going to be so successful. But 35 damage in one turn should be quite doable. And he will kill us if we don't kill him first, but we've done it. And it only cost us one whole potion. 103 gold. We can't take the duplicate potion, so Zu just gets rid of that. And another card for us. If we had lots of strength adding cards, Limit Break would be incredible, but we currently have no way to add strength to our character apart from the very first turn we have 3 strength, and the odds that we have Limit Break on that turn are very low. Well, it's not very low, it's about half with our 11 card deck. But I'm going to skip this. The Slaver's Collar during boss and elite combats gain energy at the start of your turn. Busted Crown. Gain energy at the start of your turn. Future card rewards have 2 less cards to choose from. Or an empty cage. Upon pickup, remove 2 cards from your deck. What would we remove? Probably Battle Trance. It's kind of become a bit redundant. And Strike. I think I'm going to do that. Because it makes us so streamlined in our first 2 turns. And our final boss is what we call the Power Bird. It gets stronger if you play powers, which we currently do not have any of, so I'm not mad about that. We would like to hit up a couple of shops on the way because we have very high discounts, but we don't really have much money left. And question marks are free rooms. I want to avoid this. A couple of question marks, a fight, but then no shop. The only shops here are early, unfortunately. So we'll do these 4 fights, and then this shop, and if all goes terribly up to that point, we can go left and get 2 fires to rest. $15 damage. That's a good start. The burn unfortunately gets in the way of clash, which is the real problem of this combination that we have. But we will bash to add vulnerable. And this will kill. Even something like armaments, which gives us block and then upgrades all of our cards, isn't really of benefit to us because only Clash is not currently upgraded, and we'll probably upgrade that at a fire very soon. This is a double tap Immolate Wet Dream. We'll go Immolate Fishing. We missed, unfortunately. We'll probably still play Immolate. And then defend, defend, strike, clash. Very close to killing them. They regenerate after 2 turns, but I don't think this guy's going to get the opportunity. And we took 1 whole damage, which we will, of course, heal. None of this stuff benefits us. Keeping on our 4 fights, then a shop train. This is 31, doubles to 62, and these attack us back when we hit them because they have spikes, but we will heal for the 6 that we will be damaged when making this attack. Spot weakness is one of the better ways to gain strength. If an enemy intends to attack us, we can gain 4 strength. So I will do that. We can still play it if an enemy does not intend to attack us and get it out of our hand for that turn, so it doesn't hurt our combos too much. This is going to be double tap, bash, immolate for 5 energy. And that's almost half of his health this turn. He now intends to attack us, so we can spot weakness and gain 4 strength. That increases the damage our cards do by 4. He's already vulnerable, so we can thunderclap. We'll pommel strike, look for some defensive cards. Did not find them, so we will just continue to immolate. Shouldn't do that too much, because our deck could quickly become more burns than it is anything else. We can spot weakness again. I'm going to defend twice and just take these hits for now. And then we will be double tap, bash, strike here. Again, the burn meaning we cannot play the clash. But a reasonably quick win. Nothing here that we want. If I found some really good defensive cards right now, I would take them. So, no really good defensive cards. Dark Shackles is not terrible. Every time we play 3 attacks in a single turn, gain 1 strength is actually quite good. Most turns we're playing 3 attacks. And I don't think we have another shop on our route. Unless a question mark turns out to be a shop, which there's no given, so we should spend what money we can. So we'll take Shuriken. We'll take Dark Shackles. Unfortunately, that leaves us not enough money to remove something. And the rest, we'll take an Intimidate, because it exhausts and we can apply 1 week, which is kind of like playing a defensive card, because enemies will just do less damage to us. And we're away. So every time we attack this creature, its attack pattern will change, which is interesting. So this turn, I'm just going to let it hit me for 10, because that is not a problem for us. It's when it's going to do like 60 damage that we really want to try and change what it's doing. We'll spot weakness here for 4. Then double tap. This is going to get risky because we can't see the result of the second attack after the first attack, because it's going to change what it's doing every time. So we can play all of this. So you'll see it's back to doing 22. Now it's doing 10 times 3. Now it's doing 22 again. And I would really like to heal at this point. I think I'm going to fish for double tap. We did not get it, but we will play an Intimidate. And defend. I'm going to let it hit me for the 16 and look to try and get it to us to attack it when it's doing worse things to us. Dark Shackles would mean we get hit for 0. And we can spot weakness. And we will not attack with Bash because we like that it's doing 0 to us this turn. 32 is not good. We will spot weakness. Immolate. It's now doing 15. If we block for 8, that is acceptable. And then here, double tap, defend, attack with Clash twice. That was closer than I would like it to have been. We can't afford to exhaust the few cards that we have in our deck, unfortunately. We're not going to take a second spot weakness. The first one comes around frequently enough. And with our 33 health, we're now going to defer left to 4 fireplaces on our way off the end of the floor. So we can fight a boss from the first floor. We can upgrade all of our cards, most of which are already upgraded, and no longer heal, which would be terrible for us. Or we can heal to full and gain the Doubt Curse. And it's really good that I just remembered we have Omnomori, which means that we will not get the curse when we heal. So we'll take a free full heal for sure. Here, do we want to smith anything? Intimidate adds 2 weak, which doubles its effectiveness. This enemies lose 15 there. But this doubles its effectiveness, but only once because it exhausts. So instead we're going to dig. Nunchaku, every 10 attacks gain energy. A chest with Mercury Hourglass at the start of our turn, deal 3 damage to all enemies. We will dig again. Singing Bowl. When adding cards to your deck, you may skip the card and gain 2 max HP instead. That's excellent, although it's a bit late in the game for it, because even with the 3 fights that we now have ahead of us, that would be 6 max HP. So instead, we can't take any of these potions because Zozu. We begin to fall, and we must lose one of the cards. We can either lose Spot Weakness Plus or Pommel Strike. It's going to be Spot Weakness Plus. I like Pommel Strike for the draw right now because we got rid of our other draw card. We'll dig up another relic. Ceramic Fish. Whenever we add a card to our deck, we gain 9 gold. Too late for a bad relic. Here. Thunderclap first. Then Immolate. Don't know why that took me so long. I'm thinking of taking a dropkick at this late stage. We have Thunderclap and Bash, which add Vulnerable, which is basically 10% of our deck. And when we deal damage against a creature that has Vulnerable, we gain energy and a card. So we get to do that 5 damage for free every time we play it. And here, our final rest. We do not need to rest. We do not need to smith anything. So we will dig once more. Letter Opener. Every time we play 3 skills in a turn, deal 5 damage to all enemies. That's a shame because we only have 2 skills in our deck that are permanent. The other 2 disappear when we play them. Oh, we have Double Tap. So that might proc, maybe. But here we go. The first final boss of our Roguelike monthly marathon. If we defeat this boss, we get a nice badge on our monthly marathon April 2020 trophy cabinet. So let's see if we can win this boss. So, as I said, I call this creature the Power Bird. Whenever you play a power, which is a type of card that gives you a permanent buff, the creature will gain 1 strength. Fortunately for us, our deck doesn't have any powers, so that's not really a concern for us. These guys are about to use a buff where they will give themselves strength every turn. Otherwise, they're just going to attack us for 20. We also do still have our Distilled Chaos. This will play the top 3 cards of our draw pile. None of that really enthuses me too much right now. So we could double tap Immolate. This will kill these 2 creatures and do a lot of damage over here. But before doing that, I'd like to see if we can't make this creature vulnerable. So we'll attack them first. There's Thunderclap to make them vulnerable. And if we double tap, we can either double tap, then double Thunderclap and double Immolate. Or we can Thunderclap once, make everything vulnerable, then double tap Clash against the main creature, which I think is preferable. So that's that done. We are going to take 12 damage. We could play Distilled Chaos. If Dark Shackles procs, it'll only deal 3 damage to us. If Defend procs, we'll only take 4 damage. So I think we will do that at this stage. And we get to play Strike because we gained energy back. Unfortunately, we do not have enough energy to now play Bash. But we're not taking damage this turn, which is excellent. And here we are again. We can't get rid of the burn, unfortunately, so Immolate is our only attack here. But we can defend. So, if you were here thinking about getting very excited that we were going to win already, I hate to break it to you unless you know this game already, but even after these two attacks, the fight is not yet over. We will end this turn, take damage from burn, unfortunately. And now the awakened one awakens, which is a great shame because that 40 damage really looks like it's going to hurt. We will bash and add vulnerable. That lets us play this and draw another card. We will add even more vulnerable, attack with our only card, and then hope that he's not going to attack for this much next turn as well, because I think we might die if he does. Okay. This is 30 damage, we have 27 health. Fortunately, we do have defends in hand, so we can... What are we going to draw? Another burn. But I want to play the card regardless, so we might as well draw through twice. Defend, and strike. So we've done a half of his damage. We're now going to get hurt quite badly. And he's doing 18. First of all, we're going to double tap drop kick. This will play it twice, so it will do damage twice, we'll draw twice, and get energy refunded twice. Let's do 135 damage. We will pommel strike to try and draw the free draw back into our hand again. We did not. The burns are going to do 2, 4, 6, plus 18 is 24. We have 9 health, and this blocks for 8. I think we're screwed, because we don't have double tap left anymore. It's so close. We do not have any potions. We cannot get rid of the burns to play the clash. Even if we play Thunderclap, will do 13 plus a half is 19 plus 50 damage. It's not going to be enough. No, alas. About 2 attacks away, but we are not going to do it this time, so unfortunately our trophy cabinet stays empty, and we'll have to join me again tomorrow to see if we can't get our first W in the Roguelike Monthly Marathon. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. It's going to be one a day for the rest of the month to see how many wins we can put on the board. Thank you ever so much for watching if you got this far, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Cheers.